There are 35 people on death row in South Carolina. This is part 2 of the series. Richard Bernard Moore, 22 years on death row. Moore was sentenced to death in South Carolina for the murder of convenience store clerk James Mahoney in 1999. Moore was convicted of first-degree murder, armed robbery, and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. He was accused of shooting Mahoney twice in the head during the robbery at the store where Mahoney worked. Moore's case has gone through various appeals and legal proceedings over the years. Freddy Eugene Owens, 20 years on death row. Owens is on death row for his involvement in the murders of 2 convenience store clerks during a robbery in 1997. Owens, along with 2 co-defendants, entered the convenience store in Conway, South Carolina, and fatally shot the 2 clerks, Irene Graves and James Clyburn. Owens was convicted of murder, armed robbery, and other charges related to the crime. He was sentenced to death in 1999. Luzensky Alan Cottrell, 18 years on death row. Cottrell was sentenced to death in South Carolina for his involvement in the murder of Myrtle Beach police officer Joe McGarry in 2002. Cottrell was convicted of shooting Officer McGarry during a traffic stop. The prosecution argued that Cottrell and his accomplice Jermaine Johnson were involved in drug trafficking and shot Officer McGarry to avoid arrest. Jerry Buck Inman, 17 years on death row. Inman was sentenced to death row in South Carolina for the murder of Clemson University student Tiffany Marie Sowers in 2006. Inman abducted Sowers from her apartment, essayed her, and then strangled her to death. He later confessed to the crime and was convicted of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and essay, among other charges leading to his death sentence. Stephen Kristoff Stanko, 17 years on death row. Stanko was sentenced to death in South Carolina for the murders of Laura Ling and Henry Lee Turner in 2005. He killed Ling and Turner at Ling's home in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. He was convicted of murder, burglary, and other charges related to the crime. Stanko's case gained significant media attention due to its brutality and the circumstances surrounding the murders. James Robertson, 24 years on death row. 2 days before Thanksgiving in 1997, on November 25th, Earl and Terry Robertson, both 49, were discovered brutally murdered inside their Rock Hill, North Carolina home. Rock Hill is a thriving suburb and college town of Charlotte. They were law-abiding, devout, and family-oriented individuals. However, someone had wanted them dead enough to use a claw hammer to break Earl's skull and cut Terry's throat. James Jimmy Robertson, 21 years old at the time, the couple's eldest son, who had just returned to live with his parents, was the target of immediate suspicion. Robertson had taken a bad turn after earning honors in high school, falling out of college and descending into drug and alcohol addiction and small-time crime. He called his teenage girlfriend Meredith Moon in the early hours of November 25th and asked her to come over. Robertson told her when she arrived that he was going to kill his parents that day. What had driven a young man who had previously shown promise to kill his parents in cold blood? Was it a greedy longing for his portion of a $2.2 million inheritance, as the prosecution claimed? James Robertson's own grandmother stated he'd be better put off to sleep when speaking with a newspaper reporter about him. In 1999, a jury sentenced Robertson to death. Maran Balman, 21 years on death row. Balman killed a young mother from Orangeburg in 2001 with a .38 caliber handgun and set her body on fire because she owed him money. The burnt-out body of Candy Martin was discovered in the trunk of her car on February 17, 2001. She had been shot to death before being placed in the trunk. Mikol Madi, 19 years on death row. Mikol Dean Mii entered a guilty plea to the July 2004 shooting death of Orangeburg Public Safety Captain James Myers, along with the burning of his corpse. According to the prosecution, he drove off in Myers's unmarked police vehicle, which was fully equipped with body armor, weapons, and ammo. Following the murder, a manhunt that covered a large portion of the southeast was launched, and 3 days later, Madi was apprehended at Satellite Beach, Florida, some 20 miles south of Cape Canaveral. According to the authorities, Madi aimed a powerful rifle he had taken from the truck at the cops, dropped the weapon, and attempted to flee. After about 20 minutes, he was apprehended. Muddy was freed from a Virginia jail where he was serving a sentence for beating an apartment building maintenance supervisor 2 months prior to the crime. The officials from Virginia who were there at Muddy's 1998 arrest stated that the then 15-year-old Muddy made a vow to kill a police officer before he died, and he was later condemned to death in South Carolina. James Bryant, 19 years on death row. As Bryant was being placed under arrest in June 2000 for driving with a suspended license, Corporal Dennis Liddon of the Horry County Police Department was abruptly turned around and forced to the ground by Bryant. Bryant hit Corporal Liddon badly on the head during the struggle, taking the officer's duty belt containing Liddon's flashlight and weapon magazine. Bryant grabbed his weapon out of his holster and gave him a close-range headshot after knocking the officer out. Following his departure, Bryant left Corporal Liddon's body where it had fallen and took the weapon and pistol magazine with him. Horry County law authorities captured Bryant the following day after a lengthy manhunt. ONeal Finley, 16 years on death row. Finley attempted to rob an automated teller machine in the plant in August 2003, shooting Selectron security guard Walter Sykes Sr. twice. Walter Sykes was blessed with a devoted wife, 4 children, and a great military career. The murder security footage was shown to the jury. Sykes is seen performing his night shift on the tape. He allows Ron Finley, a former employee, to use the ATM. A few moments later, Finley is seen scanning the room with what appears to be a gun in his hand. Finley enters Sykes' workspace and he shoots Sykes in the face and neck, according to investigators. Finley then introduces an accomplice who is holding a red gas can. The room catches fire as Finley carries the gas can inside the office where Sykes is battling gunshot wounds. Finley runs away. Subsequently, Sykes was seen fleeing the building while he was on fire. He passed away shortly after. Prosecutors displayed the jurors his charred uniform, which had a strong gasoline odor. Louis Michael Winkler, 15 years on death row. Winkler kidnapped and essayed Rebecca Granger on October 10, 2005, 5 months before she was murdered. That evening, Winkler's car was spotted behind the Seacoast Medical Center. Rebecca's car was found off the road in some trees and appeared to have been wrecked. There was blood on both of the victim's car seats, around the center console, and on the interior panel of the passenger's side door. The Horry County Police Department activated its dog team in an attempt to locate 2 missing people. Rebecca was later found next to Stevens Crossroads, which is where the magistrate's complex and library is located. Phyllis Richardson arrived at the parking lot at Stevens Crossroads around 7:30 a.m. on October 11, 2005, and saw a woman walking in the parking lot being followed by a man. Richardson noted the woman looked distraught and was acting confused, and that the man's hands were in the air as if he were raging and irritated. Shortly after Richardson entered her office, she saw the woman from the parking lot on the phone in her office building. The woman's hair was matted and tangled with some bald spots. Richardson later learned the woman making the call was Rebecca Granger. Curtis Thompson was the first officer to arrive at the building and noticed some of Rebecca's hair looked like it had been ripped out, and she had black eyes, abrasions, and other scratches. The victim was transported to Seacoast by EMS where Lisa Gore, a nurse, tended to Rebecca and noted her injuries to the left eye, some swelling in the jaw area, bruising around the neck, a fractured nose, an upper lip injury, redness under her right eye, corneal abrasions, multiple bruises and contusions, a bite mark to the face, and a large amount of hair removed from her head. An assay kit was collected from her and the DNA matched Winkler's. On October 11, 2005, Winkler was arrested for criminal sexual conduct, first-degree assault, and battery with intent to kill, and kidnapping. Bond was initially denied. However, at a second bond hearing, bond was set at $150,000, and he was required to wear an electronic monitor while out on bond. At a third hearing, Winkler's bond was amended to allow him to remove his electronic monitor for 2 hours, so he could seek employment between the hours of 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. Winkler was out on jail on bond on the day Rebecca was murdered. At around 5:30 p.m. on March 6, 2006, he kicked in the door to Rebecca's condominium. He knocked her son, Jonathan, onto the ground and then shot her once in the face at point-blank range. According to the forensic pathologist who conducted the autopsy, death occurred instantly. Winkler hid in the woods, but he was caught 2 weeks later. Andres Antonio Torres, 14 years on death row. Torres was sentenced to death for his conviction of 2 counts of double homicide in connection with the beating murders of Ray and Ann Emery in their Drayton home in May 2007. Ray Emery was sleeping when Torres broke into the house with a hammer and gave him a blow to the back of the head. Ann Emery was essayed by Torres at some point before she was slain. Torres attempted to set the house on fire by turning on the oven and stove burners while standing over the victims and removing jewelry and other belongings from the residence. He then drenched the Emerys with gasoline. After driving Ray Emery's van from the scene of the crime, Torres crashed the car in Union County. Then Torres lied and claimed that his wife was in labor and that he had to travel to Spartanburg. Torres was single and does not have any kids. Jerome Jenkins, 5 years on death row. Jenkins was given the death penalty by a jury for the robbery that killed a Conway convenience store employee in January 2015. A pleading attorney for Jenkins pointed out that all the men in his family were either dead or incarcerated. Bella Paruchuri was shot by Jenkins as she left the business after the employee gave up the cash, according to prosecutor Jimmy Richardson. Jenkins was described as a cold-blooded killer. Timothy Jones, 5 years on death row. Jones was convicted of killing his 5 children and sentenced to death in June 2019. Timothy Jones met Amber Kaiser, a Pennsylvania native in Chicago. In June 2004, 22-year-old Jones married 18-year-old Kaiser in DuPage County, Illinois. Amber Jones gave birth to 5 children: Mara, born in Pennsylvania, Elias and Nathan, born in Mississippi, and Gabriel and Abigail, born in South Carolina. The couple separated for 2 weeks in May 2012, and according to Jones's divorce lawyer, when Jones returned to their shared home, he discovered that his wife was having an affair with a 19-year-old neighbor. In 2011, the state's Department of Social Services opened an investigation into the family's residence after he also accused his wife of neglecting the children. Despite finding the house in a messy state, the investigators closed the case. Timothy Jones took the kids to live with his parents in Mississippi while the couple stayed separated. The couple finalized their divorce in October 2013. Timothy Jones was awarded custody, while Mrs. Jones only retained visitation rights and was required to be supervised by her husband. Jones picked up his 2 youngest children, Gabriel and Abigail, from a local daycare on Thursday, August 28, 2014, and his 3 oldest children, Mara, Elias, and Nathan, from Saxe Gotha Elementary School. At a Walmart in Lexington County that afternoon, Jones forcibly removed the 5 children from the car, a behavior for which he would subsequently face charges of illegal neglect. At 7:12 p.m., Amber Jones called and spoke with Nathan, one of the boys. She was unable to get in touch with Jones or her kids after that. According to authorities, Jones killed his kids on August 28, most likely. He used bleach to mask the smell of rotting as he covered their bodies in black garbage bags. It's probable that the other kids were already deceased when Amber Jones spoke with Nathan on August 28, as Jones subsequently confessed to killing his kids in the family home on August 28. In the trial, prison officer Travis Presley testified that Jones had confessed to killing his oldest daughter after she had seen him kill one of her brothers. Jones claimed that after Nathan destroyed an electrical outlet and made him perform physical workouts, he lost his temper. According to Jones, he was inspired to kill the others after he found his son dead in bed. Jones admitted in his confession to have hurt the child in an attempt to get the youngster to explain what had happened to the outlets. Experts, however, discounted Jones's claim and said Nathan appeared to have been strangled to death. Jones acknowledged using a belt to strangle his younger children because he thought their necks were too little for his hands to handle safely. The mutilated remains were positively identified by Stephanie Stanley, an agent with expertise in DNA analysis, using complementary DNA strands discovered in Jones's residence and vehicle. Jones made a Labor Day trip at Dunkin' Donuts in Spartanburg, South Carolina on September 1st. He visited a Walmart in West Columbia on September 3rd. He bought many things, such as muriatic acid, saws, and big plastic bins, which he used to disfigure his kids. Authorities thought his kids were kept in the car's trunk. The dates of his children's absences were Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. Additionally, on September 3rd, Amber Jones called the police to report that she was unable to get in touch with her husband or her kids and that they had skipped the planned visit to Chick-fil-A. Black trash bags containing the bodies of Jones's 5 children were found off a rural dirt road close to Camden, Alabama. Jones was detained in his Cadillac Escalade on Saturday, September 6, 2014, at a regular Mississippi traffic checkpoint. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.